A Castrol Activ champion was just simply one of the greatest players the world has ever seen. He perfected one of the most difficult arts in the game. He was mercurial, he was unpredictable, and there were days when he just took his art to the level of a genius. And I don't think anybody would balk even once before saying Shane Warne was an absolute genius. First saw him and he didn't look like a genius. He looked like a good cricketer, but there he was, a little tubby, carrying a little extra weight. You heard about the baked beans later, but you could see there was a bit of pizza, there was a bit of beer around. But there was a leg break that drifted outside leg and came back in. And Ravi Shastri said after he played his first test match, he'll bowl much worse than this and pick up a lot more wickets one day. And so you sort of tended to remember what Shane Warne was going to do. And he says the turning point, and there's so much written about Warne, the turning point came in a test match in Sri Lanka. Just 180 to get. Aravinda De Silva was going great guns, just about 30 odd to get. And Alan Border called a young beach boy and said, here's the ball. And he said, me? He said, yeah, you. He picked up 3 wickets for virtually nothing. Australia won that test match and Shane Warne just began his rise up. And by the time Australia went to England in 1993 for the Ashes, there he was ready. Mike Gatting played for a ball that he thought was somewhere else because that ball dipped. I must have seen that ball 50 times. The ball just swerved away. It took Gatting there and then suddenly hit the top of off stump. And you said that ball happens once in a century, right? No, it doesn't. He actually bowled that ball once again after he had retired in a demo. That's why Shane Warne was a genius. And then through 93, from 93 through to 1998, 99, he was just incredible. His tussles with Tendulkar were the stuff of legend. His tussles with Brian Lara were incredible. And the world was just blessed to see players like these playing at the same time. Between McGrath and Shane Warne, there was no escape for any opposition. When Australia were on their way to becoming one of the greatest team ever, McGrath and Warne were the foundations on which it was built. They protected that Australian cricket team, much like Castrol Activ's Actibonds protect your bike engine whether running or off. As I said, through the 90s, he was incredible, but then through the turn of the century, he came back 2001-2. There was a little blip in 2003 when he failed that drug test. He was out of cricket for a year, and then people said, right, he's been around 10 years. Will he come back as the same Shane Warne? And guess what? He took 40 wickets in that Ashes series of 2005. If there's one reason we remember that as one of the greatest series ever played, it was because Shane Warne was always there going after England. There was that fascinating duel with Kevin Pietersen, but there were so many others. 40 wickets in that series and some crucial runs, and you knew that Shane Warne wasn't going anywhere.
The one piece of advice that we gave all the players in 2005 was to make sure that you just face the ball and not the name. You know, if you're ever facing Shane Warne, you were always a little bit intimidated, so we try to encourage the players to just face a leg spinner. A very good one, but just try and tell yourself that all you're facing is a leg spinner that's going to be spinning away from the right hand as you bowl, the odd one that goes straight on, and he's human. He will bowl you bad balls. And every time that he got the ball in hand, the English crowd just booed him and gave him plenty of stick. And it was meant in a matter of respect. I think all the fans realised how good he was, and they were just trying to off-put him. And every time we hit him for a boundary, the roar was getting louder and louder. But he just had that mindset and that belief that he could make a difference.
Australia lost that series, and so he dragged himself through up to 2007-8, and just as well, because he went past 700 wickets and finally finished with 708. The numbers were incredible. Only one man's got more wickets than that. But even more fascinating was just to watch Warne bowl, because at all times his mind was focused on how am I going to get a batsman out. And he often said, right, if I'm not able to bowl this ball, there's no drift, there's nothing else for me, I'll just bowl that leg break. He said 75% stock balls. He'd bowl one leg break outside leg, one on middle, one on off, one full, one short. He made that one leg break look like 7-8 different deliveries. At all times he was thinking, how can I get a batsman out? And that is why you think of Shane Warne and you think of test match cricket. But that is not all there was to Shane Warne. 1996. I remember being in Chandigarh. Australia had not scored too many runs, and West Indies were on their way after having lost to Kenya, on their way to the final in Pakistan. 50 odd to get in 10 overs, 8 wickets in hand, and then Warne picked up 3 more wickets. Similarly, in 1999, that was just mesmerizing. That spell against South Africa, where every time it looked like South Africa could come back into the game, Warne would just drag Australia back in. 2 great Australia matches at the World Cup in 96 and 99, and Warne played a central part in both those. He finished with 293 wickets, and just add up the 2 and see what you get. 1,001 international wickets.
Shane Warne in any series was an incredible bowler to face, and it wasn't just the ball that you were facing. You were facing the whole kind of euphoria around what Shane Warne brought to the middle. He had an aura about him that could make players shrink.
Now, by 2007, Warne had finished, but one of his finest achievements was still round the corner. He got picked for the Rajasthan Royals. He came in, Shane Warne was appointed captain of the Royals. I know there was Graham Smith around, there were a couple of other senior players, but really we would joke in those days that was Warne, a couple of others and 7-8 children playing for Rajasthan Royals. And he took the Ravindra Jadejas, the Yusuf Pathans, he made them wonderful cricketers. Swapnil Asnotkar, remember, Shane Warne said, "You are my opening batsman," and he got runs out of him as well. And the stories you hear from players of that time are absolute legend. We talk about Brendan McCullum's big role in the IPL in 2008. It was Shane Warne and Rajasthan Royals that went a long way in establishing that IPL and protecting it for the years to come. Protecting it. Much like Castrol Activ's Activons, protect your bike engine whether running or off. Shane Warne's life might be a soap opera. He's in the news for everything. He plays poker. He does everything, Shane Warne. But deep down in the heart of Shane Warne resides a traditionalist and someone with great belief in the art of leg spin bowling. There isn't a leg spinner in the world who doesn't look at him with awe, doesn't revere him, and doesn't stalk him. I saw earlier this year in Australia, Kuldeep Yadav literally stalking him. And when he took 5 wickets in the Test match, he said it was wonderful that I got it in front of my idol. I'm sitting next to Shane Warne in the commentary box. He could have been a child going red. For all the adventure of Shane Warne, there is very traditional cricket lover hiding within, and I just admire the way he seems to have time to encourage every young leg spinner around the world. And so long may that continue. Shane Warne is one of the greatest to have played the game. He's a Castrol Activ champion.